Hello, everyone. Welcome to our usual Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. You may have joined us this morning when we had our other talk, which we hold every third Sunday of each month at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And that's to accommodate the folks who can't be here at our usual time of 6:30 p.m. weekly every Sunday, Pacific time, of course. So thank you to the hardcore folks who just keep showing up no matter what time it is, even when it's like 3 in the morning, you brave souls, you. So I am your host, Nor Kyle.
And I am her loyal sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, and whether you're here live or joining us by watching on the YouTube replay, we are so happy to have you with us. We are grateful for your company and for your contributions. And one way that you can contribute, of course, is to engage with us on YouTube. And that means doing the whole thing where you subscribe to our channel and leave comments and like our videos. You know how all that goes. That helps us a lot. That helps us reach more people like you and share all this cool stuff with more people. At the same time, we are also doing our fund drive from now until the end of the year, in which we invite people to donate so that we can cover our costs and keep our expenses taken care of so that we can continue to put this work out there basically for free, aside from our one-on-ones, which you can email us about. And all of the links for these things are going to be in our description. One thing I want to note about our fund drive right now is that we are doing a special thing in which we are doing a raffle. So if you make a donation or more than one, that is basically the equivalent of entering a ticket in our raffle, and you may win 3 free sessions with us, either one-on-one with either me or Mushtaq, or you could even have one of those three with both of us. And we're sure to have a lot of fun and have some engaging conversations. And if you've never
Absolutely.
met with us before, give it a shot.
Yeah, if you think that we're goofy here, wait till you catch us one on one.
Yes. And we'd be so happy to learn more about you and share more about ourselves as well. But if you don't want to wait, like I said, send us an email and you can sign up and do a one-on-one a la carte, and we would love to meet you that way too. So without further ado, have I left anything out, Mushtaq?
Nope, you're good.
No. So let's leap into our second topic of today because we are just gluttons for punishment. We are going to be doing a talk on a fairly secret practice this evening.
Not anymore, it ain't.
Yeah, and this is something that, has followed us through our historic Sufi tradition, and we'll be sharing a little bit more about that and other contexts in which this practice
And we aren't
has.
just going to be talking about it. We're going to teach you how to do it.
Right.
And then
So,
we're going to explain to you how you
explain.
can do this in such a way that you can save the world.
So this is pretty special.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll see that and experience that for yourself as well. Ah, now where would you like to lead us to start?
Okay. We're going to start with talking about what we're going to teach you, which is it's called Vird or weird, depending on the dialect of Arabic that you might speak.
Yeah, it's weird without the E.
Yeah, it's literally wa re dal, and it's a an interesting word. And we're going to start with talking about the meaning of the word, and then what one does with it. So, at the wonderful thing about Arabic, the reason that we do not put Arabic aside for English is because Arabic is utterly rich in its word meanings. I mean, you can't beat it for this. And we're,
Words often have multiple shades of meaning. You look at them from different angles, and it's like they shine different colors. Arabic has this quality in which you can fit a lot of meaning in just a couple different sounds and
Yeah,
how you change
you
them.
can write a book with three letters, almost literally. And that's what we're going to look at first. So the word weird, which is wow, re, dal, at its basic level of meaning means approaching a place of water. Arabic root words are always verbs, they're always action. So approaching a place of water or approaching a well for drinking. This reflects the literal physical act of seeking sustenance. Then we look at derivations of this. It can signify, doesn't mean, but it can signify the act of drinking from a water source or the water itself. Um, it can refer to something that is attended or approached regularly, and that's important here. Remember this. Something that's attended regularly or approached regularly, such as a reoccurring task or place that you visit routinely. Uh, the root conveys a sense of intentional movement towards something, often with a goal in mind. In terms of metaphorical and spiritual connotations, especially in Sufic or poetic tradition, uh, Weird refers to the specific daily litanies, prayers, and remembrances that one performs to maintain a connection with the divine. Keep that in mind too. And the word can symbolize the soul's journey towards God, akin to approaching a life-giving well in the desert. Think about this. You know, the Arabic language came out of a desert culture. And so approaching a well is like one of the best things you can be doing when you're in the desert. It doesn't get any better than that. And it can mean an entry point or a beginning stage on that journey. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. The root, if you change one of the invisible vowels, turns from weird to ward, and that means arose. We'll get back to that later. But remember that all of a sudden you've gone from the well to a rose. Mawird means a source or a destination. Warid can mean a visitor or one who has arrived. Warud means arrival. So that's the word. So what is it to us? To us, it is a recitation that is done usually as part of a greater dhikr ceremony, though not always. It can be any kind of recitation too. If you sit and you read from Quran every day, that can be a vird. The vird that we are going to work from is known today as the Sarmoun Vird. The reason that it is known as that is because Gurdjieff gave it to some of his students, though not all, and it's been floating around quietly in some of the Gurdjieff groups. It is much older than that. When some years ago, like 4 years ago, something like that, we were talking about the Sarmoun Vird, and Zainab was part of this. And I read the lines, and she perked up and said, "My grandfather used to recite that." And as it happens, I guess, and Zainab, you might want to tell this story better than me, But as I remember what you said, he was reading from the poetry of Saadi, right? Where is he now?
Yes, there's a known section in Saadi. Slightly different, but almost the same.
Yeah, slightly different. It's a definitely a version of it, and probably, the this veir was at least 300 years old when Saadi started playing with it. So where does the Sarmoun Vird come from? It was probably created, or at least transmitted through Yusuf Hamadani. And from there, it spread out into the world. It was almost undoubtedly written or created first in Farsi, though it was translated in Hamadani's lifetime into Turkish, or shortly after his death, one of the two, and has been translated at least into Arabic and now into several other languages. Any questions so far? This is just the historical part of it. Any answers? Do we have any answers? There's
just a minor point. You've got veered and weird. Um,
same word. If you are Osama, you're going to say weird. If you are Zainab, you're going to say weird, written with the exact same letters.
just
Mhm.
dialects then.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
people who speak Turkish, they may,
they will say weird with a V.
yeah.
And I think even the Egyptians will say weird with a V, but don't quote me on that. But most Arab speakers are going to read the first letter as a W rather than a V.
Kind of like the difference between English and German, V and
Yeah,
W.
or English and English, aluminum and aluminium. So I'm going to read it to you now in English. Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One who knows and does not know that they know, they are asleep. Let them become one, whole. Let them be awakened. One who has known but does not know, let them see once more the beginning of all. Can you get that, Noor?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
One who does not wish to know and yet says that they need to know, let them be guided to safety and light. One who does not know and knows that they do not know, let them through this knowledge know. One who does not know but thinks that they know, let them set them free from the conclusion of that ignorance. One who knows and knows that they are wise, let them be followed. By their presence alone, humanity may be transformed. I who know and do not know that I know, let me become one, whole. Let me be awakened. I who have known but do not know, let me see once more the beginning of all. I who do not wish to know and yet say that I need to know, let me be guided to safety and light. I who do not know and know that I do not know, let me, through this knowledge, know. I who do not know, but think that I know, set me free from the confusion of that ignorance. One who knows and know that they are wise, let them be followed. By their presence alone, humanity may be transformed. We who know and do not know that we know, let us become one, whole. Let us be transformed. We who have known but do not know, let us once more see the beginning of all. We who do not wish to know, yet say that we need to know, let us be guided to safety and light. We who do not know and yet know that we do not know, let us through this knowledge know. We who do not know but think that we know, set us free from the confusion of that ignorance. One who knows and knows that they are wise, let them be followed. By their presence alone, humankind may be transformed. As with our forebears, so with our successors, so with us, we affirm this undertaking. That is the basis of the recitation. It sounds a lot better in Turkish or Farsi or Arabic than it does to my ears in English. Thoughts on that?
I found it to be absolutely fascinating. Probably require many more listenings to even begin to get grasp of meaning.
It will take hundreds of recitations.
So,
I just I noticed that all these verses describe different stages of our lives. And as well, it seems like the second part was basically a repetition of the first part, but not from separation, but from a place of unity by using the first person, we, instead of he.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I noticed first glance. And I definitely love to ponder more on that.
Yeah.
And
What is your native language?
Romanian.
Romanian. Okay.
Yeah.
If I gave you this in Romanian, would you help me translate it better?
Um, do you mean to translate it from English to Romanian,
No,
or
I can give you a Romanian version of this, but it won't be
yeah.
good. It
Oh
won't
yes,
be like
yes, yes, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we will talk
definitely.
about that because it is my plan to translate this into as many languages as I can so that people can say it in their own language, say it in the language that they think in, not in some language that is like their second or third or fourth language.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds amazing because you connect more deeply to it, definitely.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, someone was speaking earlier about French even, and
Yeah.
they're going to help us with that. So,
Yeah. So I'm
yeah.
drafting everybody who is a native speaker of a language other than English.
Yep.
And we have it in Arabic, we have it in Turkish, we have it in Farsi. It is being done in Hindi as we speak. It has been done in Bahasa Indonesia, though it hasn't been recorded in that yet. Um, so we're building a library of this. Osama, can I ask you to read this in Arabic if I give you the Arabic text real quick?
Yeah, I can try. Go for
Okay,
it.
let me put it in the chat. There you go. It always comes in shifted to the wrong side, but it's the best we can do.
It hasn't come through over here yet. You might have to do it in pieces. Sometimes things are too long.
Yeah, I can't tell what this says. Now, I'm going to do it in a slightly different way because I think you should hear what it sounds like when it alliterates properly. Uh, Check your Facebook Messenger and you should have it there. There, it's even justified to the proper side. Go figure.
So to answer your
Mm,
question, Mr. Keem, any version in Arabic, yes, and that will be available to you. RM says, "Can we get this?" I think people
Yes.
are curious if they get to have get their hands on this too.
Yeah. My plan is for everybody to have this. Anybody who wants it. That's what we're going to talk about next. RM, what is your uh, milk tongue, your first language?
I didn't get anything yet, just
On
FYI.
Messenger?
Yeah, nothing on Messenger either.
Damn.
Feels real.
Let me try one more thing. And then if that doesn't work, we're going to have to give it up. Oh, you know what? There, now you'll get it.
Yep, now I have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I realized I forgot to hit return. I was so
That,
excited.
that'll do it.
I've
Whoa,
done
this is
that.
long.
Yeah, I've done that before.
I do that with emails more than I'd like to admit. I could have sworn I sent it.
Okay. So I think there's probably some words grammatically that may not make sense, but I'm gonna read it as is.
Good. I had
Um,
Wael go over this to make it, as he said, Arabize it, but you two might have to put your head together to give us an even better translation.
yeah, okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد. من يعرف ولا يعلم أنه يعرف إنه نائم. دعه يصبح واحدا كاملا. دعه يستيقظ. من قد عرف لكنه لا يعلم أنه عرف. دعه يرى مرة أخرى بداية كل شيء. من لا يرغب في المعرفة ولكنه يقول أنه يحتاج إلى أن يعرف. دعه يوجه إلى الإيمان والنور. من لا يعلم ولكنه يعلم أنه لا يعلم. دعه من خلال هذا العلم يعلم. من لا يعلم ولكنه يعتقد أنه يعلم. حرره من ارتكابك هذا الجهل، من ارتباك هذا الجهل. من يعلم ويعلم أنه هو إنه حكيم. دعه يتبع. قد يتحول البشر لمجرد وجوده. أنا الذي أعلم ولا أعلم أنني أعلم. دعني أصبح واحدا كاملا. دعني أستيقظ. أنا الذي قد علمت ولكنني لا أعلم، دعني أرى مرة أخرى بداية كل شيء. أنا الذي لا أرغب في المعرفة ولكنني أقول إنني بحاجة إلى المعرفة، دعني أوجه إلى الأمان والنور. أنا الذي لا أعلم ولكنني أعلم أنني لا أعلم، دعني من خلال هذا العلم أعلم. أنا الذي لا أعلم ولكنني أعتقد أنني أعلم، حررني من ارتكاب هذا الجهل. من يعلم ويعلم أنه هو، إنه حكيم، دعه يتبع. قد يتحول البشر لمجرد وجوده. نحن الذين نعلم ولا نعلم أننا نعلم، دعونا نصبح واحدا كاملين، دعونا نتغير. نحن الذين قد علمنا ولكننا لا نعلم، دعونا نرى مرة أخرى بداية كل شيء. نحن الذين لا نرغب في المعرفة ولكننا نقول إننا بحاجة إلى أن نعلم، دعونا نهتدي إلى الأمان والنور. نحن الذين لا نعلم ولكننا نعلم أننا لا نعلم، دعونا من خلال هذا العلم نعلم. نحن الذين لا نعلم ولكننا نعتقد أننا نعلم، حررونا من ارتباك هذا الجهل. من يعلم ويعلم أنه هو، إنه حكيم، دعه يتبع. قد يتحول البشر لمجرد وجوده، كما كان مع أسلافنا، وكذلك مع خلفائنا، وكذلك معنا. نؤكد هذا الالتزام.
There you go. Now imagine 100 voices reciting that together. Cindy, that's going to be a challenge. I have a friend who is working on this in Urdu right now, but once we get that done, I will ask you to double check it and make sure that it makes sense to you. This is to RM. So, what do you do with this? This is designed specifically to move you into a state of presence. I think of it as protecting you from the mind parasites. Let me tell you about that. So when I was like 16 years old, I ran across a book called The Mind Parasites, written by a fellow named Colin Wilson. James is going to go and get his copy.
Show and tell, James. You
Yeah,
wanna
say something so we can actually see the screen,
you're
James.
gonna have to unmute yourself and then
Yeah.
give it a poke. There you go.
Can you see that? Does
Yes.
it come through clearly?
Well, we can see
Perfect.
Colin Wilson and
Okay.
then
Up a
yeah,
bit.
okay.
There we go. Nice,
Plastic cover.
comforting, soothing cover.
Nice, nice. Inspirational. Thank you for illustrating.
Yeah. So this book, written by Colin Wilson, who at the time was a still fairly young philosopher, he was challenged by, I think it was August Derleth, to write a Lovecraftian novel. And he did. And this is what the upshot was. And it's perfect. It hits every Lovecraftian note, including the sexism and misogyny and racism that was inherent in Lovecraft's writings. And what it posited was that it was built not just on Lovecraft, but Lovecraft and Gurdjieff, if you can imagine that. Actually, Lovecraft, Gurdjieff, and Husserl.
Quite the love child there.
Yeah, it was a three-way between, yeah.
Between those three hotties, there
Yeah.
you go.
So part of the story is there are these beings on the moon, which are the mind parasites, and they feed off of human negative emotion. They feed off of mechanicalness and sleep. And they have been acting on the human race to keep us asleep and in a state of robotism for millennia. And somebody discovers this. The first person to discover it, they drive him crazy and he ends up committing suicide. But he leaves notes. The second person who discovers it, they read the notes and they are more careful and they begin to free themselves from the trap of the mind parasites. Now, when I was young, I loved this book. I thought it was great that this concept of this parasitic force acting on us to keep us in a state of somnambulistic nightmare so that they could feed on us just seemed like the perfect metaphor for the world at the time. And so I got this thing in my head that said, you can either feed the mind parasites or you can feed your higher self. One of the two. But you're always going to feed one or the other. This is just metaphor. And remember, this is out of a teenage mind. So it's maybe not as sophisticated as it could be. So for the longest time, every time I noticed that I was having an emotion, I asked myself, what does this emotion feed? And if it fed the mind parasites, I would do my practices and let that emotion go. If it fed my higher self, I would also let it go, but I would let it pass through me more. And I want you to think of this sort of as that. This veir is a protection against the mind parasites. Remember, it's just metaphor. I ain't saying it's real because it ain't real, because even the mind parasites couldn't create a situation as stupid as the one we're in now.
As Rant calls it, the eldritch terror of this situation.
Absolutely. That's perfect. I'm stealing that from you, Rat. So, how do you protect yourself from the eldritch terror of the situation? You can do this repetition once a day. And this is how you do it. You do it in the language that you think in. And whatever language that is, we'll figure out how to translate it into that language one way or the other. We will probably need your help to do that. You start with a prayer. If you're Muslim, you start with Al-Fatiha, because we start everything with Al-Fatiha, because that's what it says to do. If you're a Christian, you would start with the Lord's Prayer. If you're Hindu, you would start with probably the Gayatri mantra. And then you would do the Vird. Then after the Vird, you would do a zikr practice. If you are a Muslim, you would either do the zikr that your sheikh gave you, or you would do La ilaha illallah if you don't have a zikr that you're working with. If you're a Christian and you're a Catholic, you would do the rosary. If you're a Christian and you're Orthodox, you would do the Jesus prayer on your prayer beads 100 times. If you are a Christian and you are a Protestant, you're kind of shit out of luck because you guys threw out all the practices somewhere, but steal one from the Catholics or the Orthodox. They won't mind. If you are a Hindu, you would do any bhajan that you relate to, and you would go through a full mala of that bhajan. and on like that. You can fit this to whatever your religious preferences are. You can do this if you're a Taoist. You can do this if you're a Wiccan. It doesn't matter because if you'll notice, the actual Vird is completely non-sectarian. Ian, yes.
And what if you have no religion?
If
Which
you
is
have
where I
no
am.
religion, then recite the Desiderata or something.
Okay, I'll have to think on that.
Yeah, so think on that and
Get
figure out
creative.
what
Yeah.
would be appropriate. And then when you know, tell us because we'll steal that from you and tell people to do it.
I,
So
I should perhaps add that I've just generally been not into anything like prayer for a very, very, very long
that's
time.
okay. God doesn't mind. Recite poetry. Seriously, recite poetry. There are some awfully good poems out there. You've got to know Kathleen Rain, right?
No, I've not ever been terribly into poetry.
One of the greatest English poets to ever live.
Hmm.
She puts Shakespeare to shame.
Wow, what was that name again?
Kathleen Rain with an E. I love her work. I was actually turned on to her by a Sufi. Khalil Gibran, yes.
Is it Kathleen Rain, the Blake scholar?
I don't know if she's a Blake scholar. All I've ever known was her
Yeah, she's one
poetry.
of the foremost. She's one of the foremost Blake scholars.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I love everything about her poetry. And she was introduced to me by a friend named Rashad, who also loved her poetry and knew her. And he stood up and read her stuff for an hour. And it was incredibly moving. Amelia, what do you think? You have a question.
Yeah. So I mean, Ian asked about not having a religion. I don't. I would fall into that category, but I had like a recommendation. Which is that I basically just invented my own prayer, kind of.
Yeah,
Um, it's like a chaos magic kind of little mini ritual I do. And it's already pretty like I'm able to cultivate like a meaning behind it myself.
that's
Hmm.
all that is required. If it aligns you with the one, whatever the hell the one is, you're doing it right.
Thumbs up to that.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it.
So what you do is you commit to reciting this once a day as a practice. And as you recite it, you pay attention to everything that you're saying. So, say you're a Christian and you start it with the Lord's Prayer. Think about what you're actually saying. There are thousands of people who say the Lord's Prayer in their sleep every day. Millions of people, probably hundreds of millions of people who say the Lord's Prayer in their sleep every day.
Or Al-Fatiha.
I was about to say there's at least as many who say Al-Fatiha.
Yep.
You go to the masjid sometimes, and these guys are just having one long vowel movement, trying to get through it as fast as they can so they can get out of there and get a cup of tea and smoke a cigarette. But no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to take your time and pay attention to the prayer that you make. Pay close attention to the Vird and what it means, what each one of those quatrains means, and what it means to you and what it means to the world. And then whatever practice you do at the end, pay attention to that. Now, after you do that for a little while, something interesting is going to happen. Random people are going to come up to you and say, "Hey, why are you so cool?" And when they do, you explain to them about this practice that you do, and you invite them to do it with you. The next thing you know, there's two of you, and then three, and then four. And the next thing you know, there's a movement. And you have all of these people who are doing this thing in the world. Or not, it might never happen, but it could. It has. It will. And that begins to make the world a better place because you are feeding your soul, not your mind parasites. You are producing a state of awakeness in yourself and using the Vird and the practices to hold yourself in that state. And the more you do it, the more you can do it. And the more people you can do it with, the stronger it gets. You don't ever have to do it with anybody, but you could if you wanted to. Does that make sense?
Lil gives a thumbs up. He's on board. What are
Good.
what are people thinking about in
Yeah.
relation to all this?
I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to come up with because as a sort of unchurched Protestant with a fascination with Hinduism, trying to translate into a
Get,
Sufi practice. So
get together with Alka and learn some bhajans.
I would like to learn the Gachya mantra.
The Gayatri mantra is incredibly cool and incredibly powerful. And I highly recommend it.
I've heard it briefly, and it was in a movie or a series or somewhere, and it sort of put the hook in me.
Yeah,
Mm.
it'll do that.
Mm.
And Khalil says the Asato mantra is key as well. I don't know that one, but I assume that you're correct about that.
Asato Masad Gamaya.
Okay.
But so following what sort of Amelia said previously, crafting your own, you have a certain flexibility as long as you have the meaning and the feeling. Yes?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Intention, yes.
Intention. Intention. I should have remembered that term by now. Okay, intention, yes.
All good, just throwing it out there, but you're on the right track for sure. Excellent. Yeah. Andra says thinking cultivating self-awareness and humility because most of us think we know when we don't. Yes. And the weird really helps us not just check in, but encourage ourselves towards deepening our self-awareness. So we get to do the gut check. Am I really tuned in and am I really doing the work? Or am I just kind of cruising and just falling asleep at the wheel, so to speak?
Yeah. Or as I like to say, are you feeding your mind parasite?
Yes.
It's like having a bot fly. You all know what bot flies are, right?
Gross.
Yeah, they're gross. Bot flies will lay their larvae in your skin. It lay their eggs in your skin and it will develop into a larvae who will poke up a little breathing hole and develop in a little cyst in your skin till it's big enough to be a fly and crawl out. And it's more than a little disgusting, but that's what a mind parasite is like.
Self-inoculation against the mind parasitic bot flies might be a good idea. Yeah, so no one has to feel confined to a certain religiosity here. there is room for creativity with this. If you have a tradition that really resonates with you and feels like a vehicle that is appropriate for you, do that. That's wonderful. And as Amelia was saying, there are ways that we can make up our own.
Yeah. The whole point of this is that it is infinitely flexible, and the heart of it, the Vird, is completely non-religious, non-denominational, non-nothing. Anybody could read this. I mean, you could be in a biker gang and still read this and it would be fine. Would be interesting, but it would be fine.
But the Vird itself does give you, as Andra was saying, a point of focus and a foundation of humility, because that's a big part of this. We don't know what we don't know. And it takes us through all of the ways in which we can fool ourselves into thinking that we do. All of those traps that we get sucked into so easily, all the spiritual bypassing we might do. So there's the creative side, and then there's the discipline side that allows us to stay humble and to bear witness to where we do fall short.
And you are part of something that has been going on for a millennium when you do this. You know, Yusuf Hamadani was either given this and used it, or he created it for his students. This is my theory. I don't have a lot of evidence to back it up because we don't have a lot of writings about this. But we know that it was being written in poetry in the 13th century by one of Iran's greatest poets, who was a Sufi, probably a Naqshbandi, but we aren't sure. I know that other Naqshbandi groups have used this Vird, not all of them, but a few of them have. The Yasevis have used it. The Saraswatis have used it. So it's been around and it has been handed down, and it changes form a little bit. I don't know exactly where Gurdjieff got it or where whoever he got it from got it, but it's all good because here we are. It is for all of humanity who cares to use it. There is nothing secret about it, nor should it be secret.
It's not so helpful if it's secret, really.
No. And there are a lot of Sufi orders get into this secret stuff. I remember the first time I experienced that. I was going to a dhikr at a Sufi house I was hanging out at for a while, checking it out. And they said, we're going to do a secret dhikr tonight. Here's what it is. Never tell anybody what it is. And I will tell you that the dhikr was not in fact secret because I had heard it before from a different place. And I'm not going to tell you what they did, but I will tell you what I heard before, which went, Hasbi Rabbi Jalala, ma fi qalbi ghayrallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah, la ilaha illallah. And probably anybody in the Arab-speaking world will recognize that. And they said it in a slightly different way. So that wasn't exactly their secret dhikr. So I'm okay telling you that. That was also the first time that I realized that Americans have to be really careful when they're doing somebody's dhikr. Because the line, Ma fi qalbi ghayr Allah, was being said by the Americans as ما في قلبي غير الله.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. I took it as a Zen thing. So qalb means heart. Kalb means dog. So they were saying there is nothing in my dog but God. Total Zen
Which,
saying.
yeah, I mean, we don't disagree with that, but
Yeah.
that could be distressing for people who unfortunately don't love doggies as much as we do.
Yeah. A
Does a
dog
dog
does,
have Buddha nature?
yeah. If you answer yes or no to that question, you lose your own Buddha nature. So that's a famous Zen koan. It was given to Muhmin, I think it was, who answered Mu. And then one of his guys came up with the line that I just quoted. Mu is a negation, but it doesn't mean no.
James says in response to Khalil, does a Buddha fart as badly as my dog? I mean,
Buddha farts, they are
Good
awesome.
old dog. Oh, that's badly as
and then Kevin says, nobody farts as badly as dogs.
the mystic wisdom.
Deep thoughts here.
Yeah.
Yes. Khalid says, moo, no comment. Yes. All right, pertaining to the topic, any thoughts or questions so that we can make sure everybody gets what they need to know aside from us actually sharing the text itself. Osama, I see you unmuted.
Yeah. Um, so this past week I've experienced different groups doing different words. Um, and each group has their own, pretty much their own path leader with whatever they wrote, centuries ago. And it's fascinating because of the different melodies. I mean, even to the ear, kind of like what Mushtaq was talking about when you have, 50 plus people, 100 people sometimes chanting the same thing in a particular melody and particular rhythm. Even that by itself can have some kind of effect in the group itself. And yet it made me realize kind of about what was said, which was it can easily be done, just a repetition of a movement of the tongue with no uh, connection with the heart or the
Yep.
soul or spirit. Um, so, being present and knowing what's being said and having that presence be, um, having that practice also be as well part of it, kind of what you guys talked about, is like is so on point because it can go into a trance. Like even I mean in English we can see like it's how many words are used in the entire thing. Well, five, six words are pretty much the
Yeah.
same. If you know, I know, we know, who know, like it's what,
Yeah.
six words. In Arabic, same thing. So it's easy to fall into a trance, especially if there's a rhythm that gets picked up or some kind of melody that gets, be put on the actual word itself, which most of the time there is. Just some kind of makes it easier to recite or to remember actually. Um, so cultivating that presence while doing the word and while going through it, it's yeah, I definitely see that the importance of that and having that being the spark that starts the wird, and wird just being the gasoline, and just having that spark of presence, and then just wird. It's like, just putting it on fire.
I like that imagery.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
As we like to say, 5 gallons of gas and a road flare.
Oh,
For
man.
my ego with 5 gallons of gas and a road flare.
What was the beginning of that? I may have cut you
Coming
off.
from my ego. Never mind, it wasn't that funny.
Kevin says, can you expound upon the difference between Vird and Zikr? Is Zikr just another form of Vird?
Not exactly. There's a distinct, if subtle, difference. A veer, it tends to be a long recitation, and it can be a lot of stuff. It can be reading a surah from the Quran can be your veer, or reading 3 different surahs from the Quran. It can be a poem. It can be like this, which is just an affirmation. Whereas a zikr is literally, it means remembrance, and you are working specifically with the divine names. So the Vird here doesn't mention any names, doesn't mention God at all, which is why it's so perfect for what we're doing. It points to God, but it doesn't mention him or her or it. Whereas a dhikr, we're going to be reciting the beautiful names in particular patterns.
Glad that makes sense, Kevin. You are welcome.
Glad it makes sense because I have trouble making the distinction sometimes. So,
Andra says, I'm thinking maybe if we do the Vird correctly and consistently, more and more will be revealed to us. We make space for the supreme teacher.
yeah, what she said.
Yeah, I'll just comment that I put which one is it? The Asato mantra in the comments, but I also looked at the Gayatri mantra, and there's a variety of English translations in the Wikipedia article, and
None of which are very good.
Neither of those mantras can be properly rendered into English. That's why there's so many. You have to say it in Sanskrit if you're going to say it.
yeah, but what I was going to say is between them all, I think I can probably come up with something that I'd be happy to work with.
Good.
I mean, there's no point in me trying to say anything in Sanskrit because
And I
I'd
have my
be
own
muttering
translation of the
babble.
Gayatri Mantra into English, which is also imperfect, but I think it's pretty good, better than what I've read in Wikipedia. But so anybody who wants it can have it. But for the people who speak Hindi, they already know it.
And again, it's good to think about the language you connect with
Yeah.
and that you can feel the meaning of. Halil?
Yeah, I just want to say about that. It's a really important point because the Gayatri Mantra, again, is impossible to translate. So if you're an English speaker and you're going to do a Hindu mantra, stick with the Asato because the Asato is just a straightforward bunch of prepositional phrases. But the Gayatri Mantra, I mean, if you know anything about these mantras, has traditionally been absolutely impenetrable outside of Sanskrit. So I just think that the Asato mantra is much more approachable for an English speaker.
There you go. Yeah, Alka says that the Gayatri mantra is not about meaning so much as the rhythm and the energy. So it's tricky to recite in a way one thinks. Interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But
Learning lots of stuff.
it's a very cool mantra. It's a mantra that goes back to the Rig Veda, which means it's really old. And it's very, very powerful.
So I'm excited to, whether anyone shares or not, though you are welcome to on the forum or privately, to share with us what you come up with, what you choose to work with for yourselves.
Yeah. And realize that this is for everyone and it's free. We're not franchising this, right? You don't have to send us a nickel for every time you recite this Vird. Take it, use it, share it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a language that we haven't covered, we will help you translate this into whatever language you got. I have a lot of language assets. And though I will never be able to translate it perfectly into your language, I will get it close enough that you can finish the translation and have it make sense. And for fun, once you get it done, there is the possibility of not just reciting it, but singing it. There are audio files that go with each of the languages that we're working with. And all of them, except for one, are just spoken, recited. The Farsi, which is the original language that this comes from, Zainab was kind enough to recite it as it should be recited. And so you can download that and listen to it. And it's absolutely beautiful. And everything that we're working on is going to be in files on the forum.
That's our Facebook group for those who are familiar or unfamiliar.
Yeah, and usually I would say find it on the forum. And if you are not on the forum, that's your bad luck. But in this case, you can email us and ask for it, and we will get it to you in whatever language we have, which right now, as I said, English, of course, Farsi, Arabic, Turkish, Hindi, Bahasa Indonesia. Yeah, those 6 so far, with more to come. We're going to have Urdu very quickly, and I guess we're going to have Sindhi, which is going to be amusing. Why is that going to be amusing, Mushtaq? Because I don't know anything about that language. But I will by the time I'm done. And then RM can look at it and shake her head a lot and fix it.
Looking forward to that. All right. Who have we not heard from? Mr. Kim, I know you're in chat, but if you have any thoughts, feel free to share, chime in. And you as well. It's good to have you here. If you have any thoughts, please chime in. I know you're probably on your phone. Such is the way.
Yeah. And we will make sure that you get a copy of the Turkish version.
Yeah. But I'm excited about this too. Yes. Aka says, lots of Sufi music in Sindhi, Mushtaq.
Cool.
How do you pronounce that part? I don't know. Julai lal du mast calendar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Julai lal the mast calendar.
Oh yes,
You
I
know
know
that
that
song.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Mushtaq, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Go out, do this, report
Mhm.
back. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, you can create a field and a force doing this that will begin to transform things around you. It's weird.
Yeah, and I keep reminding everyone this is not about force. This is not about force in the sense of strong arming your way into things happening. It's allowing yourself to be the change, to be that influence just by being yourself, by doing the work yourself. And we forget how powerful that is sometimes. But we dare you. All right. Are you ready for Brady Bunch mode?
I am so ready for Brady Bunch mode. I can feel dinner just calling my name.
Yeah, it's been a long day for us, as those of you who know. We did our 2 Talk Sunday today, so we are ready to check out. Worked really hard today. And
we haven't heard from Zainab though. What do you think, Zainab?
Yeah, Zainab. She's put a lot of work in this week too.
Yeah, she has.
For which we are grateful.
I just loved it. Thank you. And I also like it as it's a word and it's a poem that you can recite it to others. I think I was missing that.
Yeah.
Keeping it as a zikr or something that is more hidden. So that was a very good revelation.
Well, it came through in your rendition of it as poem. And that made me happy. I was like,
yeah.
Ah.
Mashallah, Zainab.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was also thinking like in more traditional families, they used to recite these things to everyone around. It wasn't, oh, it's a secret thing. We should keep it quiet.
Private thing, yeah.
Yeah, when I was in Iran, television was Masnavi and Divani Hafiz. You know, they just pass it around and read it.
Yes, and it
And
might
drink
not
tea.
come around then, but it will definitely, people hearing it, it comes around some other time out, as in their transformation. So
Exactly right.
thank you.
All right, folks, we're in Brady Bunch mode. Say goodbye.
Yeah, thanks
Goodbye,
for hanging out with
everybody.
us. Thanks for contributing, everyone who got us prepared for tonight. Thank you so much for your help, and we look forward to sharing what you've helped create with everyone so that they can make use of it too. And that's an ongoing project. So,
yep.
Blessings to you all. Have a great week, and we will hang out with you again soon, God willing.